Hi guys, so today I'm going to go over how to make a simple calculator in Python. So we've been doing this project for a couple weeks now, and a lot of people haven't been doing it, so I thought it would be helpful to create a video about it so that you could, get some help or clear up any misunderstandings. So let's go over the requirements again. So we just required 5 operators in your calculator, nothing more is necessary. So you should have an ability to add, ability to subtract, ability to multiply, ability to divide, and ability to use the modulo. So we talked about modulo a little bit before in the club meeting, but I'll go over it again a bit later if any of you need more instruction. So I also put out this sequence of events of how we're gonna do this. So it's always best practice to plan out your projects before just jumping into them straight ahead. It makes it a lot easier. Number 2, the actual coding aspect. So as you can see, I have this code interpreter for Python, right, to write the right code, and then I'll be going over some of the code as well. And then number 3, revising, just going back, seeing if there's any errors or anything, and then fixing them. Alright, let's start. So, let's start with planning, as we mentioned. So, how would we start? It's a very subjective way to go about it. There's many different ways you could go about this, but I'm just gonna do it in a certain way for the purpose of this project. Just a simple way that we can understand. So, we'll start with pseudocode. Do you remember what pseudocode is? You can pause if you want to try to remember, but so pseudocode is basically fake code. It's code that you write in English, just straight English, so that it's easier to understand when you're planning it out. So you can do this with comments, right? You can say do you remember comments? It's just the lines with the hashtag that the interpreter skips over when it's reading the code. And in other languages, there's different symbols, but for Python, it's a hashtag. So this is just for humans to read. So you can write your pseudocode here, but since I have this whiteboard up, I'm just gonna be doing it here. So what do I want to happen as soon as I run my program? I want it to have a greeting, let's say. So I can just say print greeting, right? When I actually code this, I'll choose what it actually says and I'll use correct syntax, but for the purpose of planning, this is good enough. Print greeting. Okay, what do I want after this greeting? I want it to check what kind of operator what kind of math the user wants to do. Again, this is subjective. You can go about this however you want. There's many different ways to do it, but I'm just gonna do it this way. So let's say you want to check what they say. But how would you check that? First, you would ask them what they want, what kind of math they want to do. Do you guys remember the input function? I'm gonna write it here. So the input function, we discussed this a couple meetings ago, in a bit of depth. It's a useful function for getting the input that people type in the output area. I'll show you in a minute. So you would use a variable to store the result of the input. I'll try to explain this clearly, but it's a bit complicated. So let's just say you want to store the value of the first number that the user wants to use. So you could call the variable number 1, right? Let's just say that. Variable number 1. You would set this equal to the input function of a certain string. Okay, I'll explain this now. Input, and then of a certain string, right? I'll make this string asking what it wants. So this string is what prints when it asks you what you want to use as your number, right? This is what prints when it asks. So let's just say we can write what number with a question mark, what number, right? And then this variable here, it's called number 1, is storing the value of what you write. So let's see it in the thing. So in the online IDE. So we can say ask name. Okay, this is a variable equals input. Oh, what is your name? Right? This is just the same syntax as it is here, but with different names. So what is your name? Let's try to run this and see what happens. It asks what is my name, but now as you can see, it's waiting for my response with this line here. So what will we say? We can say something like, I don't know, Bob. But now the code finished, okay, because there's nothing after this. However, we can check what the value of ask name is. So we can do print ask name. Okay, so this is printing the value of ask name, which, as we already discussed, is what you write in the output area. So it's asking what is my name. We can say Bob, and it'll print Bob because it's printing the name, right? You could just say name at this point because it's just an easier variable name. So name, what is your name? And then it prints your name, what you write in the thing. This is good. But we also want the operator, like plus, minus, divide, multiplication. We want to know what kind of operator the user wants to use. So we could also say something like operator, let's just shorten it to op, is equal to, we're also going to use the input here again. Input, I'm just going to not use correct syntax here because it's just planning. Input what op, right? So this is asking what's the operator that you want to use, and we can just do the same for number 2. Like what's the second number you want to do? So num2 is input what num. That's bad spelling. What num, right? So this is basically asking me what is the first number that you want, what is the operator that you want, and what is the second number that you want. So this seems a bit useless as of now, but we're gonna put it to some use. So to do this, we will check what number 1 operator and number 2 is. How would we do this? You can pause it to try to remember. Okay, I'm gonna go over it now. So to check the value of these, we're gonna use an if else statement. So let's try to make this a good F. There. If number 1 is something, then we can have a certain result. Okay, I'll go over this in a bit more detail now. So first of all, we want to check what the operator was, so we can know what kind of operation we're doing. So first of all, okay, this is not correct syntax, but I'm just going to use it anyway. Use bad syntax because it's planning. So we can do like if operator is equal to, let's just say plus, right? If operator is equal to plus, then print num1 and then we use the actual plus num2. So all seems well in this, right? I hope you understand this. And probably all seems well. But there is actually an error here that you must pay attention to. So this operator, this addition sign, we have to look at this closely. What kind of data type is this? This is actually just an operator. This is actually an operator. But the value of operator is a string because input has string values. Like operator is a string value because you type a string value into the output section if you remember over here. This is a string value that you're typing in. So anyways, you should actually change this from the operator version of this to the string version of this. Oh, what the? So this is the string version of operator. So you have to be careful of that. Let's repeat this for minus, multiplication, etc. But how would we do this? It's bad practice to just do if this again, right? That's not good. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna use an if-else statement. So how would you do this in Python? You might recognize if-else from or else if statements from APCSP or something, but in Python it's a bit different. Instead of else if, it's elif. You just shorten it. So if operator is, and then we'll just change this to multiplication or something. Then you want to do multiply the two numbers. So you would repeat this for all of the operators, right? And then actually that would be it. That's actually all you would do. However, there's an important thing that we need to discuss. It looks as if all is well here, right? There's no errors. This is actually incorrect. There is an error here. Or at least it won't work as you want it to. So remember how we talked about how operator is a string value, right? So are num1 and num2. These are also string variables because they have input functions. Therefore, you can't add these two strings together and expect a number. That would just mush the num1 and num2 together. So how would you convert these from strings into integers to numbers so that you can add them? You would do this using casting. Casting is just when you change the data type. I'll show you how to do that. So instead of writing num1 and num2, you would actually write this. Int. Wait, I'll use the red for numbers. Numbers. Int. And then you would write num1. Which is, wait, I'll use the green for string. Int num1 plus, let's use the red, int, and then in parentheses, num2. Just pretend this is the whole one, because I'm not going to write the whole thing again. So what this would do actually is change the data type of num1 from a string to an integer, and so that this can be added. So instead of being the string version of whatever you type, it would be the number version of whatever you type. So for example, imagine you typed 2. Instead of adding the strings 2 and 2 together, you'd be adding the numbers 2 and 2 together, which would be 4. So let's just imagine that for these. That's basically it. So let's start the coding portion of it. Good job. I'll put a check mark on planning. Maybe I should put little squares here. It's a bit cooler. Alright, let's go over the actual coding aspect of this. Okay, so we should refer to our planning when we do the actual coding. I'll see if I can split screen this. Right, so I'm not gonna split screen it, it's a bit too difficult. But let's go over the actual coding aspect. So let's refer to how I wanted to start. I wanted it to print a greeting. Okay, that's pretty easy. Print. What do I want this to say? Hello. Let me be a bit cooler. Yo, welcome to the calculator. Okay, that's my greeting. That's already one thing off the check mark list. I'll use orange for checking it off. Okay, that's already one thing. Now we should have these variables. We should set up these variables. So number one, let's go num1 equals input, as we see here, input, and then we'll say what is number one. Okay, we can just say what is your first number. Let's add an exclamation mark. So now we'll ask for the operator. So operator, I'm just gonna say operator for less confusion, equals input, and then what is your operator, right? This is pretty simple. I think it's pretty easy to understand. So then number two, we'll do the same as before. Input, what is your second number? Let's make it the same looking. Okay, so that's another entire thing crossed out. Well, three of them technically. And then now we have to check for the operators. Okay, we already went over how this works, so I'm just gonna institute it now. Now let's talk about the elif now. So usually we do an else if in other programming languages, but here it's shortened just to elif. So now we can keep going with the if statement. So if operator is plus, if operator is plus, then we add them. But now we can do elif operator is minus, then print. What am I doing? Int num1 minus int. Oh, what am I doing? Hard to type. Num2. Okay, so this is pretty. It gets a bit repetitive from here. I wish you could move this thing up a little bit. You can't really see it well. So I'm just gonna copy and paste them for all of the stuff. Make sure the alignment is correct for indentation. elif operator is multiply, then multiply them. If it's divide, then divide them, and then one more. If it's modulo, then you modulo them. I'll talk about modulo now. So basically, modulo is the remainder of something when you divide it. So, for example, if you had, for example, 10 modulo 2, right? You would divide 10 and 2, and then you would check the remainder of that. So, but 2 goes evenly into 10. So 10 that's bad, 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5, right? And since it goes evenly, there's no remainder in it. So actually this is 0. Right? I hope that's a bit easy to understand. Alright. Let's test it. Yo, welcome to the calculator. What's your first number? My first number is 1. My operator is plus. My second number is 1. Yay, it said 2. The calculator was successful. I hope this was helpful for you guys if you didn't understand some stuff, and I look forward to seeing your calculators. Thank you.